Hi guys, welcome back to the Think About It podcast. I'm Nisi. I am so excited to have a safe space to speak our truth or to find it. So come on in for however long I have you here or however long I have your ear. Now let's think about it. Hey you guys, welcome back to the Think About It podcast. It is your girl Nisi and we are back with another episode. I think we are on episode 3. Y'all, mood has changed so much. Y'all, I need another microphone because it takes me the setup is so simple, but I think because of the quality of the microphone, um, it just gives me a hard time, y'all. Like a hard time with my audio, and I do not like that, and that's the reason why I started a podcast to be more on audio than honestly on video. But y'all know I'm just trying to utilize all my platforms, but it's mainly for podcasts, so it's important, and it really stresses me out, y'all, when when the audio part of it is not working. Okay, and y'all, I don't want to touch nothing. Okay, look, I said I don't want to touch it, and I still touched it. But yeah, okay, so right now we're back, we're up. Welcome back to another Think About It podcast, like I said, with your girl Nisi. So again, oh, welcome back. If y'all not on YouTube, y'all can't see honey, these titties is tittying. Girl, they gonna titty for at least 60 seconds, and after that you will see the shirt come back up. I'm gonna forget about it and it ain't gonna be looking how it's looking right now, okay? So bear with me, honey. You know what I'm saying? It's looking real cute right now, okay? Yo, I got ready ahead of time. I did my washed my hair yesterday and kind of reset it and freshen your girl up. I love my hair way better than when I first did it. I don't know who's like that, or people who do their hair, even your makeup. Like, I get used to it. Like, I never liked when I first installed my hair. But like my second tries, my third tries, I'd be like, this is it. I don't know why I'm like that, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted to, and I said this in the last episode where I just wanted to, to get into like the fun, the conversation that everybody wanna have. Like the people who knows about this podcast, like everybody always asks like, oh, well, what are you gonna talk about? Like, you gonna talk about sex? Like, you're gonna talk about sex, talk about sex, talk about sex. And typically like people that know me, like associates or people that just know me because they know, honey, I'm a very sexual being. Like when I say sexual being, I'm comfortable. I've learned to be comfortable with sex and everything of it. You know what I'm saying? And I really, really want to get into it, y'all, but it's not happening like that, okay? Let me tell y'all, I have notes. Like, I literally have notes on my topics. And when I tell y'all, after I did my podcast, after I did last week's podcast, I'm like, okay, that's it. Wrap it up. It's too heavy, And I told y'all, remember, I'm in my purpose. So sometimes what I want to do, it's gonna be a delay, because when I feel like what God wants me to do and what He wants me to say, I'm just gonna be obedient. Like, I told y'all that, like, for real. You know what I'm saying? Anybody else, I'm squaring up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gonna debate about this. I'm not debating with that man. I'm sure as hell not gonna square up, but I'm still don't worry about it. So I don't really know the title of this podcast. I'm trying my best to get out of the, like when you do a YouTube, you kind of have to have a title, blah, 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 so on and so forth. My podcast is just me basically talking. Of course, I'm going to have a topic that that we discuss every week. But as far as, writing down verbatimly what's the topic, this and that, child, we going to find the topic as we kind of go throughout this, right? So last week, let's just get straight into it. Last week, and before I get into it, these were things when I, originally wanted to start my podcast and the things that I wanted to talk about. These were the things that I honestly, that I felt like lay dormant. I think that's the name of it, or the word of it, over me, where I felt like, okay, I have to speak about these things because I know that these are things that people go through. I want my podcast to be fun and, relatable and, a learning space, but I also want us to also be able to understand that, or I want to, like I said, I want to find my tribe of people that went through the things that I went through, and be able to help them, even if it's just one step to get to that next, that next level. You get what I'm saying? Or to let people know that you are not crazy. It's not just you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like for me, where, I've always been, honestly, in so many ways, a loner, you can sometimes feel like everything is happening to you and not nobody else. So that's the reason I started my podcast, y'all. Okay, so now, like I said, last week, y'all, last week I was sitting in bed, y'all, honey, drinking some good old wine. I think it was, I forgot I was drinking some Sonoma Couture Chardonnay. I love Sonoma Couture. Sonoma is just so smooth. I love Sonoma. So just sitting back, y'all, drinking my Sonoma. I think I was watching. Chala wasn't watching the TV. The TV was watching me. If you're the type of person that, like, my TV would be on, and I swear to you, my TV can tell you more about me than I can tell you about it, because I'll be on my phone, which is crazy. But I don't be watching my TV. So I was in my phone scrolling, and I seen the Mrs. LaTruth and Mr. LaTruth. If y'all don't know him, y'all, the couple or ex-couple, y'all can go ahead and pull them up. And I want to say within the last probably like 3 months or so, like, you start to see them, not in a positive light, more so in a negative light for the last 2-3 months, right? Or I wouldn't say negative. It's I guess whatever you see what they're going through in life. It's life. You know what I'm saying? And I seen it, I want to say 2 months ago, and I seen a couple clips of it. My automatic thought after watching, I watched Miss LaTruth. I watched hers first, I think, because at that time she was, I think, like, in the, like, when they kind of put like a thumbnail of the actual video, especially on YouTube, I just seen her crying, right? I don't never just want to look at what I see a person's doing. Like, I want to now go into depths and to see if, if this tears are these real tears, or is this, something that you're doing for publicity, right? Because, that's what celebrities do now. You know what I'm saying? People in general. You have people, y'all, that, and I'm right in between with that, because I can get where, when you're talking or you're having a conversation about something and you're being purposeful about it, tears can just flow. You get what I'm saying? Or something that touch you where it can just flow. But then I also feel like there's people that do things, and I know that there's people that do things intentionally, like crying, just to get a reaction. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to judge, I swear, but for me, it's just a confused, like, I don't understand how people, if somebody find out, somebody close to you died, like, y'all, like, people would get on Facebook and be like, Jason, you're gone, and they'll put GONNEEEEEEE. I guess to let people know that they're hurting so bad, but I don't know, because I'm naturally a private person, or especially when it comes down to certain things like that, or sickness, I need to take that in by myself. You know what I'm saying? Or even if it's around my family member. So I don't know, but I said all that to say I went into as I seen her video, it kind of got me into like actually listening to what she was saying, you know what I'm saying? Not just kind of focusing on the tears, but actually listening to what she was saying. And of course, like, I don't like to hear just one side of the story. I want to hear the next side. So I started listening and listening to the Mr. LaTruth, his side of the story. And I tried my hardest for as long as I could, just not to have an opinion, just to listen. I just wanted to listen. I didn't want to have an opinion. And it was so hard, y'all, for me to just shut up. Literally. For so many reasons, right? Okay, so boom, that was that situation. And at that moment, I was literally writing down, or kind of, I was actually going through my phone trying to find discussions or things. Well, I had a discussion, but just to try to find things to kind of back up my discussion. So in my mind, honestly, this is what I was focused on. And when I tell y'all, that's why I feel like it was something that God kind of just placed it over me, because it was like, okay, T, you got to talk about this. You got to talk about this. And then in the back of my head, I'm like, no, T, don't do it. Like, you need to laugh. Like, let's be able to have a moment where we can just shoot the shit and just, And then after that, I went into I came in contact, or I found myself in a situation where I was not myself, but I was in an environment where kind of that same thought that I had when I was watching the especially when I watched the Mr. La Truth side of it, that thought started to come back up again. And the thought is the N word, not nigga, but narcissist. And when I watched it was not the minute, but it was certain things that he said. It literally triggered this, like, or just reminded me of like the things that I went through, in a narcissistic relationship. And then, like I said, when I found myself in this environment, well, where now, there's other people that have like this, that is having this feud or this tension, and on one side of the spectrum, I got that feeling again of, these triggers, or like I said, these feelings of what I went through of dealing with a narcissist. And then what was it? It was something else. It was something else. It was the La Truth. How can I forget that? Krishan and Blueface. And I told myself, y'all, early in the year, well, the end part of last year, I just can't. And the reason why I personally watch Krishan Rock, mainly Krishan, is because that young lady, I can see the connection. Let me just say that. I can see the connection, and I can understand, I guess, why certain things, like why she do certain things, right? So it was like, okay, boom, God, I hear you. This is what you want me to talk about? Let's talk about it, okay? So I do have some key notes, y'all, because this is a conversation that I need, I have to have. I have to have it, because I feel like, especially when you're dealing with, when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, or you're dealing with narcissistic people, whether at work or in your family. You know what I'm saying? Once you're around it, I feel like a lot of times, especially determining on your background, determining on like how you were raised, or in your mind you thought like you was this, like for me, I thought I was this strong, like strong headed woman, you know what I'm saying? And even back then, a strong headed kid, So for me, I just thought that could never happen to me. It just wouldn't. I would not be a statistic, honey. And I used to say those words on so many things. I remember just quickly growing up, like especially like 14, 15. I don't know where I originally heard it, but like certain things would happen, or with relationships that I remember myself saying, I would not be a statistic to that or to this. And come to find out, y'all, as I got older, I became exactly that, right? So fast forward, like I said, to after going through the whole, after I realized that, okay, this is the topic that God wants me to talk about, I gotta get my ducks in a row, okay? Because this is not going to be a 40-minute conversation. I pray that it is just an hour, but if it's not just an hour, it is going to be a part 2. I hope that it don't. I hope I can get it all into episode 3, and then we can move on to the topic, y'all, that I want to have, so I can go get some wine. I want to drink some wine. I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to drink wine real bad. I really do, But I cannot drink wine while I was having this conversation, because I really want to get it all out. And I want to get it all out. I want y'all to really understand what it is that, this whole conversation about, a narcissist. So as I was on my way dropping my daughter off, again, I was kind of just looking at some keynotes and making sure that what I'm saying or what I'm bringing to you is as accurate as I know to be, or is as accurate as it is to be, period, okay? So, like I said, y'all, last week, after just watching so much of those, well, not so much, but I watched the Miss La Truth. She had an interview with Charmaine Bay TV and her husband. But I seen clips where she went live last year, right? And you know, I'm not gonna lie. At first, before I got into and I don't really know them. Like, you know, you see them kind of like here and there, whether on Facebook or Instagram. You know what I'm saying? But me personally, I just was never that connected or devoted to their relationships. I just never was, to be honest with y'all. But then I did see like on TikTok when he was fighting cancer. You know, like I just seen like little clips here and there. You know what I'm saying? But this is the part. Like this is the time where now I guess I don't know. You know, people will be like, oh yeah, because it's the drama. I don't think it's the drama because I've watched people that I don't connect to. I don't know, and I just bypass it because I don't even want to deal with it. I don't even want to know about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want it up nowhere into my space or frequency. But so like I said, because I seen the one, I think it was the first one I seen where she looked at like where she was just crying on the video. This is when she had went live and she was kind of talking about, you know, her experiences, and he, like, I guess when she said like he abused her, and he hit her, did something with this container, and he tried to turn it into, oh, it's not that big of a deal, right? So I sat there and I watched the video, y'all. I watched the video as long as I possibly could. I watched a lot of her on the Bay TV on her interview. I think I watched either all or the majority of her interview, but I tried so hard. As long as I could to watch La Truth's, Mr. La Truth, his video. You know what I mean? Because just listening to the sense of self that he have around him, it's annoying, it's upsetting, it's triggering, it's disgusting. It's like, and then for me, like I said, because I was in a relationship, that was my previous relationship, was so narcissistically, if that's a word, draining. Okay. And I just sat there and I listened, and after that they had an interview where they brought on a therapist to kind of like back up their interview, but also to kind of not give a lot of their opinions and allow a professional to, you know, come to be at the forefront. And that was even more beyond me. But of course, I love the fact that she was able, and you can tell that she's definitely a professional and dealt with those type of things. Boom, that was the situation. I dealt with that, and you know, like I said, I also had an experience, like I said, where a place that I go to a lot, and it is a part of my environment. There was a situation even recently where I was just like dumbfounded. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Seriously. I can't really talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. But it was so sad. It was so hurtful, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. It brought tears to my eyes because for me, in my mind, and with the situation or with the person who is the target, because the person's so young, it's just like, Lord, I just hope that, you know, this person is able to overcome this sooner than later. Because just watching it, you know, even happen from a person who's went through it, it does something, you just even watching it happen. You get what I'm saying? And then, like I said, the whole Christian Rock and Blueface and the child. If y'all don't know everybody at this point, child, should know what's going on about this whole Christian Rock and Blueface thing. I want to say this before I really get into the whole depths of it. People that's interviewing these couple for personal gains, for following, for money, you know, for clout. Y'all are fucking disgusting. Y'all are disgusting. Y'all are gross. And y'all ain't no better than fucking Blueface. And when I say Blue, and I don't want to, you know, villainize him or whatever, but, you know, the way he's showing up is fucking disgusting. Okay? And the people, like I said, that interview them for personal gains, y'all are just as fucking disgusting. Y'all need to sit back and really think about who the fuck, like, did my mother raise me like this? Like, what type of mother did I had to think that this is even fucking okay? Seriously. The only interview that I can say that I got a sense of self or understanding, and I feel that these people were here or were there to get a sense of understanding on this person, and also to pour and speak life over this child or young lady, was the Know For Sure podcast with B. Simone and Megan Brooks. Period. They intentionally, if y'all know, if anybody watched the Know For Sure podcast, y'all don't even have to never watch the child. Just go through the clips and just go bypass real quick, so y'all can see they drink. Okay, Megan Brooks, she's the one that kind of does like most of the drinks for her and for B. Simone and their guests. Okay, every episode they typically have a drink. This episode in particular, where Krishan was on, they intentionally said no alcohol on set. Intentionally. They didn't try to belittle her. They didn't try to make her feel like she was less than because of, her situation. They really tried to understand this young lady. Okay? And that's how you know when purpose is in the room and when greed is in the room. It's a difference. You can tell. Okay? And a lot of people sit there and say, oh, that's just her. That's just, no. That's what people want y'all to think. And of course, anything that goes unchecked, it becomes worse. Okay? And like I said, y'all, listen, I was actually making dinner yesterday, I watched the recent interview with and Blueface and Krishan. And again, disgusting, gross, ew, yuck. Seriously, okay? You heard, like, if you watch the interview, y'all, you would hear where Blueface was saying, or where Krishan she was getting like real rowdy, or wouldn't even say rowdy. She was trying to communicate how she was feeling, but at that time she was already drinking, right? And it wasn't that she wasn't making sense, but because now she's inebriated, her words are not it's not coming out the way it's supposed to, right? So she was saying something, and I think Jason Lee kind of like cut her out or whatever, and then that's when she started, she felt the defense, like she felt the defense, right? So Blue goes, oh, trust me, oh, it's just gonna get worse. Trust me, it's just gonna get worse. It's just gonna get worse. And at the time, they had a bottle of Deleon, where she was drinking. I'm talking straight from the bottle. Ain't no mixing, ain't no chasing, nothing in there. Okay, straight from the bottle. She's drinking it, and he's saying, "Oh, don't worry, it's just gonna get worse." He's basically saying, "No, just keep giving it up, keep giving it up. It's gonna get worse. Y'all gonna have a good pod today. It's gonna be a good episode today. Trust me. Y'all gonna get your view from this day. Trust me. No. Keep giving it up. Keep giving it. Watch, bro. Wait about 15-20 minutes. Watch. I'm telling you, bro. Look, I'm telling you, bro. You know what I'm saying? And the fucking gaslighting that was going on was unbelievable. I think the most, even though that was a disgusting ass interview, the most disgusting interview, child, I think I got, once she walked out and I think like where she kicked like the TV that they were monitoring off of, she kicked it, I think she broke it or whatever. I don't give a damn if it was just one person listening to this pod. I'm not even gonna mention it on here because I'm not, like, y'all are just gross. It's just gross. And as a black woman, that young lady, I'm gonna try my best because y'all, I'm changing. You sit your big buck forehead ass down there, your 10 head up there, and you said that you really thought that you was making that interview better. None of them was there for this young lady, period. So when I watched the podcast, when I watched those couple little clips of it, and the guy was so rude, and he kept saying, I'm just real, baby. I'm just real. You don't have to be real and be fucking rude. It's not a thing, okay? Because what you're doing, it's obnoxious. It's rude, okay? Anybody can be obnoxious and rude. Do it with class. Do it with some type of care. and see if the reaction is, it's better. It's even better, but no. Anyway, so now we're just going to jump into this whole conversation about narcissists or whatever. Being in a narcissistic, abusive relationship, we just going to get into it, right? And like I said, you guys, I feel like this is the conversation that laid so heavy on me because I myself was in a narcissistic relationship. Real bad, okay? And not just that, but, and I'm definitely jumping all the way forward, but what I learned after realizing the situation that I was in, even after leaving that relationship, I realized that he was not my first narcissistic person I dealt with, right? I know they say it's more common for men to be narcissistic than females, but you have females that's also narcissistic. With that being said, I was born by a narcissist. My mother, child, I know y'all, I done told y'all, child, once these conversations get to my family, it's going to be a whole lot of phone calling, and baby, with love in my heart, my truth is my truth. But I was born by a narcissist. My mother is the epitome of a narcissistic woman, okay? My mother I don't think I've never seen my mother cried. My mother now says I love you, but because the I love you comes from something that I planted, right? So I learned that, it doesn't mean that because it didn't happen to me that I don't have to create this. I don't have the option to create or build this plan for myself or create this plan for myself. So I just started doing it. Well, first off, I think I started saying, but after having my daughter, my emotions and everything, I've always felt it, but it became comfortable to pour in now to my daughter. So I've always, my daughter, she's raised in a household where she don't go to bed without telling me I love you and a kiss on the cheek. That's just what it is. And then I started to just, pour into my sisters that way. Then I poured into my mother that way. Then I started to pour into my grandmother, whoever was around me. I love you, I love you, I love you. And now I tell all my family, I love you. I've never heard my aunt, which is my youngest aunt, she's definitely more in tune with her emotions. And maybe, I don't know, but maybe a lot of my mother ways can probably stem from stuff that she probably went through as a child. I don't know. But I know that my mother was definitely a narcissistic woman. My mother never felt. So I was always a feeler as, growing up. So I grew up with my mother always saying to me, oh, you're such a baby. You're always crying. You're always crying. You're always crying. I remember that as clear as day. My mother was never a hugger. I never got a hug from my mother. Or, you laid on her lap or stuff like that. When something is, my mother can be wrong. I'm talking about wrong as can be. And she's going to tell you she's right, and she's right, and she's right. And she would argue you down to the core. You're not going to win. You're not going to win. She's right, okay? And I can name a lot of different instances, I guess you can say, where not knowing at the moment that's what I was dealing with. But it also, what happened was, because of the childhood that I had, because of the things that I went through, I felt like I was like a worm to a bird, what a narcissist. I'm like a person that, that go through a lot of childhood trauma, and also people that, that mother or parents or guardians are also narcissistic people. We become like clay into a narcissist's hand, right? Again, not knowing that, because I thought, I grew up in, like I said, I grew up in the gut. I grew up in the hood. I grew up like, honey, carrying knives in my shoes. Sorry, Grammy. I finally told the truth on that. I grew up like, I'm talking like, I ain't played. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of tomboy tendencies. Like, honey, I'm climbing in trees, about to go, and you, especially when you're in the islands. You know what I'm saying? Like, we going up in trees for our fruits. You know what I'm saying? We playing jack, we playing dice, we playing hop. You know, hopscotch wasn't really a female. I mean, a tomboyish thing, but just kind of being outside and, you know, playing in the streets. And I don't want to be in the house. I want to be with the dudes. I didn't want to be with the girls. I honestly always want to be with the boys, playing basketball. You know what I'm saying? Throwing rocks at people's cars. Like, that's the type of person that I was just a bad kid. I was a sweet kid, but I was also I had bad tendencies, I guess you could say. So I always thought of myself as, you know, held strong. So certain things, like I said earlier, I just thought that it would never, it's impossible to happen to moi, not happening, baby. So, you know, like I said, fast forward to my relationship or whatever. And like I said, you guys bear with me because I do have notes and I want to run by this. I've been talking for a while now, so I really want to get into the notes. But one of the notes I have written down, I forgot, I should have written down the lady that I was listening to earlier. Sorry about that. But it says that narcissistic patterns do not change and their patterns are not your fault. Narcissistic patterns cannot change and their patterns are not your fault. Okay? So remember that quote, right? And so like I said, so now fast forward into, and I feel like when you are dealing with a relationship, when you are dealing with a narcissistic person in a relationship, I feel like for whatever the reason is, it is even more it's more visible. I feel like it hurts more. I feel like you can put yourself in a deep depression or state than it was from you dealing with your narcissistic mother or father, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's what it was for you, but I can speak for me. That's what I felt like. Like, I felt like in those moments, and what happened after listening to this, you know, let me go to the quote, y'all. I hope I've written it down. But it says, the longer a person is exposed to narcissistic abuse, the more harmful is the effect. So I think because so long, my grandmother raised me, but, you know, we have kind of a tight relationship, you know, so my grandmother never kept me away from my mother. So, you know, my mother also played a part in my life as well. And like I said, I moved here with my mother. So with that being said, I think because I was around it for so long that it didn't feel that abnormal to me. It was just like, oh, this lady got on my nerve. Like, I just don't understand why we just can't get along. Ain't nothing I can do that, you know, that I can appease her. It was just like, you know, that's what it felt like, right? So fast forward to when I got into my relationship with my ex now, I remember, well, I'd known this person for years, right? Before we got into a relationship, like ex-friend of mine, ex-friend of mine brought us together. Like, we met through her, or he basically asked her about me and to get my information or whatever. So we started talking. We had a little hiccup, you know, not a hiccup, but we messed around. It was honestly all like one time. I went back to the Bahamas, and then I moved back here. But before I moved back here, we were always like talking, you know what I'm saying? Like, we built, or what I thought at the time, that we was building like a friendship, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was asking questions about, you know, things that I went through. I listened, and we had deep conversations about things that he also went through, right? And I said, I'm saying that now, well, yeah, so he spoke about all the things that he also went through, right? And it was so deep, right? So yes, you know, my mother had me at 13. I've been molested. I definitely didn't tell him that I was molested, because I'm typically, that is something that I, especially back then, I kept private. But in hindsight, me being molested, me having a daughter at 17 years old, you know what I'm saying? My grandmother raising me, all these different things, growing up on the islands, in the hood, you know what I'm saying? And the reason why I tell people, like everybody, the reason why I always mention, growing up on the island in the hood, everybody environment is different, right? And what you can, or the effect that one environment can have on you, the other one can't, because you never experienced it. So that's the reason why I always tell. But my side of the story, his side of the story. I'm trying my best not to say a lot of it, but I want y'all to get to understand the gist. His mother was shot in the head at a very young age. In a very young age, she was also very young, and he was, of course, very young. His father was. He known his father, and that's another thing. We both kind of relate with our dads. Like, I know my dad, he knew his dad. I'll see my dad, he'll see his dad, but it was just not consistent. And that was something that we always kind of had that relatability to, and like I said, the situation with his father, his grandmother was a drunk. His grandfather was very smart, but within the years he became blind. So it was like he basically had like this so much trauma. And in my mind, listening to the things that he would say, or the conversation we would have, or he'll talk about what his ex did to him, and what his friends did to him, this and that. And in my mind, back then, before we got into a relationship, well, first off, I remember as clear as day listening, or having conversation with him, and I'd be like, I remember myself saying, oh no, I would not, honey, I can't get with you, because you a player out here, and this and that. And I didn't necessarily know of him as really being a player, but I knew because of he was known that he was popular to the girls' eyes, you know what I'm saying? So I remember saying that, but I also remember, after having the deep because I always been say to him before we got into the deep conversation, no, baby, we can't do this, because, and I think what he did was, okay, we have to get more deeper, right? And a narcissistic person, they will either do things where they, they'll get deep, and they feel like they're, you feel like you're a part of them, like they're empathic, or they'll do like big gestures where they'll, you'll have like they'll bring 12 dozen of roses, or you'll get like these gifts like, oh, he ain't letting up, you know what I'm saying? Type vibes. And with him, we would have like these, like I said, these deep conversations about things that we went through. And like I said, I remember being like, oh my gosh, like that is so sad. Like, at least and at the time, y'all, I think he was definitely older than me. But I was in my 20s, like mid-20s, probably like 25, 26. But he was like in his 30s. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, I'm not a cheater. I would never cheat on him. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, this maybe can work, because the problem is everybody was doing things to him, and nobody actually was there to, to caress him and to nurture him. And here I am, because these things come natural to me. I got this. I can do this. Y'all, literally, this was my thought process, right? And after we got into a relationship, y'all, like I said, when we first got together, I didn't say this, but when we first got, so at that time, or in that space, I was off and on with my ex-fiance. My ex-fiance moved with me as well. At that time, like I said, I was also in an abusive relationship. So, but when I moved here, we kind of kept in contact here, and they're like, hey, you okay, blah, blah, blah. There was an incident, not really big, but my ex put his hands on me again, and I told him before we moved, I was like, listen, once you move here, honey, I'm not playing no games with you. You put your hand on me, I'm calling the people. So I did. I called him, and he was the one that messaged me and was like, he sent me like a picture of the article, like, with him being arrested. And he messaged me, and he was like, hey, you okay? And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, like, I just looked at him as my knight in shining armor, okay? It was like, he was just telling me every single thing, like, like, you're not the problem, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need me to come up there and handle this, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like, he was like, he had my back, And then I want to say a week, or not even a week, but if we, not, I don't even think it was a week, y'all. He messaged me and he was like, hey, he was like, you want to go? And it was around the time of Memorial Weekend. And he was like, hey, you want to go to Miami with me? And in my mind, y'all, I was like, I need some space, honey, or, I need to clear my head after dealing with all this. Like, at the time, I know me and my ex-fiance, we was together for, at the time, 6 years, but I was going through a clusterfuck in my head. So I just felt like I needed to breathe, So, it was, I think, like I said, I want to say it was around Memorial Weekend, and he did like this, he rented like this, it was a nice Lux car. We went to a Lux hotel, but for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, a part of you doing that definitely was like, okay, at least he's like, but at the time, it just felt like I felt like he was just looking out for me. Like, don't worry about it. Like, you just need to breathe. You just need to, you know what I'm saying? I remember on my way there, on our way to Miami, my ex had wanted to call on my phone, trying to be like argumentative. And he got the phone. He was like, look, listen, I'm gonna tell you this, bro. Like, by the time as we get back, you need to be up out of there. You know what I'm saying? Like, so on and so forth. So in my mind, y'all, I'm just wrapping this thing up as, okay, he is just my knight in shining armor. This is the man that, yeah, I had a long run with this, but this one gonna be a breeze. This is what I felt. I feel like it's gonna be a breeze, and I known him for a while too, so I felt like we had already built that friendship. I known about his family, I known about his kids, I known about his exes, I known about these things. So I'm like, okay, boom, I already know what I gotta do, Girl, when I tell y'all, things changed. Okay, so at that time, I was, after the vacation, I had my own place. He was living in his own place, and he made mentions like, here and there, like, hey, when you gonna move in, or what I'm saying, like, he would just say stuff. And I think, but because of my ex, and because of the stuff that we kind of went through, it was more financial, but it was like, I always, after that situation, it was like one of the things that I learned out of being in that relationship was I wanted a sense of my own. You know what I'm saying? So I did not want to give up my apartment. I did not want to give it up. And he made mention here and there. He didn't like chastise me and just like kept bothering me about it. But he would say, like, he wouldn't be like, when you gonna move, but he would probably, it was like subtle. So it'd be like, you'll move when you're ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would just say little things, right? So boom, fast forward, I moved in with him. And when I tell y'all, within the week of me moving in, there was 2 different people. Okay? I moved in with him looking like this. If y'all not on YouTube, I'm just showing the back of my hand. And when I tell y'all, when I moved in, he turned into the palm of my hand. 2 different people. Okay? And I remember it. It's just, even up to the day, y'all, it's so vivid, I was in his closet, and I think I was like organizing his towels, and something happened, but it was just like his personality to me shift. And I remember saying something, like he was saying something, like now really kind of coming out of his shell. And I was like, you changed. I remember I said it just like that. I said, you changed. And I said it kind of like with a smile on my face, because the conversation wasn't like an argumentative conversation, but it was just like one of those, like, playful, like, you changed. But I can't explain. It wasn't argumentative. It wasn't like a tough conversation that we were having, but it was a conversation where it was like, light bulb kind of went off. And when I said it, he looked back at me and he was like, I think he was like, oh, you wasn't ready for that, huh? Or you wasn't expecting that, huh? It was like one of those things where he knew he changed. He knew he changed. And he knew it, which was even more, honestly, it was like a scare. It was like, whoa, but I still kind of went throughout my day, went throughout our lives and just kept a peep, right? And then like it was like nothing, y'all, nothing I did was right. Okay, my grandmother, if anybody ever goes into my grandmother's house, her house looked like it's on display, literally, because that's how clean that woman is. All right, when I tell y'all, my grandmother would used to have me, like, if she seen one stain in that toilet, I could have cleaned the whole toilet. But if it's one stain in there, the whole toilet ain't clean, so we got to clean it all over again, right, y'all? So I know that I know how to clean. Okay, I know that I know how to clean. Down to cleaning, it wasn't good enough. You know what I'm saying? Cooking wasn't good enough. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, honey, I was not a good cook, but I tried my best and I cooked things that I knew. You know what I'm saying? I would cook me some fried shrimp over and over, curry chicken over and over, because that's what I knew. Okay, I'm cooking what I knew. And it was like anything I did, anything I say, it always wound up as a debate, as a debation. And it's nothing wrong with having a debation, but it always turned into unhealthy debating, you know what I'm saying? Basically an argument, you know what I'm saying? And he would not stop until you agree with him. You understand? And then what happened is because I was, I'm never gonna lay down, because if I know something, I know it, so I don't agree. And then because I don't agree, now he is pissed, mad. You know what I'm saying? And what happened was, and I'm gonna try to get into this, keep my notes, y'all. In the relationship, I realized that he became entitled. He just felt like he was entitled to shit. He loved confliction. He loved the confliction. Like I said, when I said earlier, like we would literally debate, but it was like he liked it. He want high confliction. Like he don't want us to just be, okay, well I agree, I understand, or baby, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that either. Okay, well that's your opinion and that's mine. Cool. No, he wanted to be intense. Talk about dismiss the fuck you, baby. Couldn't nobody dismiss you like he can. But I say, when he dismissed you, you turn into a goddamn, you go from this, y'all know the little blow up dog, like the dogs would be moving like from left to right and shit like that. When I tell you, when he dismissed you, Chunny, you fall all the way dead. I remember when we first got together, he would always open my door. You know what I'm saying? Whatever I have on, you look too good. Okay, I see how you come in. You know what I'm saying? And it went from that to when I put my clothes on, or I'm getting ready to hurry up, let's go. Come on now. All right, we got 5 minutes. I'm about to get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? And I walk out and it's nothing. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? And then, child, honey, talk about gaslight. Baby, gaslight the entire of you. You don't even know if you coming or going. Okay, so I said that to say, y'all, I'm kind of just giving an illustration of what I went through. But a person who is entitled, a narcissistic person, typically, they always feel entitled. They have very high conflictions. They are very dismissive, invalidate the entire fuck out of you, and they gaslight the entire fuck out of you. Okay, let me tell y'all. I'm letting y'all know right now. If you think these people like this do not change. They don't change. They're not gonna change in the winter. They're not gonna change in the summer. They not finna change when whoever win the Super Bowl this year. They're not gonna change when we got a new president. They're not gonna change, honey, when it gets dark. They're not finna change at 2:00. They're not changing. Narcissistic people do not change. They cannot change. In order for a person to change, they have to see something outside of themselves. That is not going to happen. Okay, so I'm gonna get into I guess what I did, or how I overcame being with a narcissist. What I've learned, y'all, is a lot of times when we hear narcissistic people, a lot of times we think of evil, or stay away, you don't like them. Like I said, I was born by a narcissistic woman. I quite frankly think a narcissistic woman and man, which is also hard too, because people are like, well, how are you not a narcissist? Y'all, let me tell y'all, before we get into that part, what I was gonna say, I think when you realize that, and if you don't know, but the majority of us we have some form of narcissistics. You know what I'm saying? We have some form of self, which is good. We should have a form of self. But when all you see is self, and you don't, when you realize that you don't validate other people, or you're not emotionally available, or you don't know how to show compassion, you might want to go ahead and do some research. Because there were things about myself that I realized I showed up as, and it allowed me to do research, because I need to know, like, I need to know. And I think with a narcissistic person, or that you're not a narcissist when you are checking to see if you are a narcissist. Narcissistic people is not gonna do research. People gonna tell them about themselves, and they just gonna be like, nah, because they think they know self, right? But they not doing no research. That's just not what a narcissistic person does. Okay. So like I said, y'all, on the last episode, I was just kind of getting into kind of how I knew that I was in relationships with narcissistic people. But another thing was, I realized that in that relationship, or when well, first off, it took me a while. It took me a while to even know that's what it was. Okay, well, first off, I didn't even know what a narcissistic person was before I even got into a relationship with this person, right? So if you don't know, you don't think about, oh, this is what it is. You just think that, quite frankly, and I think what happens is a lot of times we look at self, and we look at the things that we're not doing, or in ways that we're not showing up as, and then we say, okay, well, maybe I'm not doing this, or maybe I'm not doing that, or maybe I should do this better, or I can do that better, right? But what happens is at that point, you are now in a place of self-sabotaging yourself. You get what I'm saying? But it's not really self-sabotaging if you don't know it. You just think that it's you. I remember y'all saying to myself, well, maybe I think I could clean a bit better, because my grandmother taught me how to clean, and this is a new day and age, you know what I'm saying? Maybe my cleaning is not the best that I thought that it was, or it could be right, you know what I'm saying? You really start to questioning things about yourself, and then you start to blame yourself for things that before the situation or relationship you never did, which is so scary, y'all, right? So what happens is, too, after you get into a place of realizing that that's what or not even realizing, but what happens with the symptoms of being in a relationship with a narcissistic person, a lot of times, y'all, is stress, anxiety. I remember, like it was again yesterday, when we were going to, I think it was a concert. I never, even if I experienced anxiety, probably because, like I said, I grew up performing, I was always able to trumpet by, it's time to perform, or it's time to get on the stage. Ain't no point in think about it now. And we were on our way, literally, y'all, about to walk into the arena. And my legs, I always wore heels. I'm a heel baby, okay? And never had problems with heels. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I know, even if with a bad heel, I found a way to balance myself in those bad boys. But with this time around, my entire, like, we were walking, and my entire legs, y'all, just started to uncontrollably shake. Like, I couldn't do nothing about it. I didn't know what was going on. Did not know what was going on. I can't tell y'all what was going on. And now that I'm looking at it, I don't know. I think probably because of the relationship that I was in with him, and it was just so much stress, and him messing with this person, that person, him trying to gaslight me and tell me that's not what it is. And I think it can be accumulation of probably, I don't know, it just happened. I don't know, but when I tell you, I've never experienced something like that. I've never experienced after that, but I remember that experience. I mean, as like it was yesterday, okay? You can feel depressive. You can feel, like I said, you can feel like, and you can be in a sense of illumination, always thinking about it, like, what could you be doing? Why it ain't going this? You always thinking about the situation. Always. You can feel helpless. You can feel powerless. You can feel a diminish of self taken away from you, which I also felt. I felt like you can be sick. I feel like it can also cause a chronic stress where you are, y'all, not funny. at all. But I remember it was around my mother's wedding. And my grandmother came from the Bahamas, you know, for the wedding, of course. And somebody came to me, one of my family members, and was like, "You, grandma is in there crying." And I'm like, "Why? What's she crying for?" And they like, because they say, because she said that you look like you're sick. But they said my grandma started crying. And I'm like, "Well, what's she crying for?" And it's like, because she said, I look so skinny. Y'all, let me tell y'all, there was nothing in me at that moment that even noticed the weight I lost. Until I go back to my photos, I don't even like going at the photos, y'all. You can literally see my collarbone. I mean, I looked at sick. I did. And I, you know, for somebody who, I didn't know, you know, the meaning of a narcissist, or, you know, I didn't know these things. But when I tell y'all I was so unhealthy, did not even know it. Like, I stopped eating certain things that was common for me. Like, I always loved Chinese food, right? And I remember a time where we had got into an argument because he was like, you know, he's arguing me down. Like, when you eat Chinese food, I always ate Chinese food, but you just never liked it. Or when I made a discussion, or, you know, made some type of mention about it, it made me say, you know what, I'm not even gonna eat it because I don't even want to deal with, you know, how he feel about it. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was y'all, it was so draining. Okay, so again, if these are ways or things that you see, you know, any of these things that you see yourself showing up as, honey, if you are right now and you know what your weight's supposed to be like, and you know you not that weight, baby, leave. Okay, it's not worth it. You are beautiful, a baddie, and that nigga knows it, or she knows it. Whoever it is knows it. Okay, and all you doing is powering that person up. Okay, that person ain't pouring nothing into you. Everything you power, they just taking it. Now they to the point where they are taking your own fat away from you. They're taking the food away from you. They're taking your health away from you. Okay, a lot of times too, what I realized even in that situation where, you know, my family, they wasn't rude. Like, when they first met him, they wasn't rude to him or anybody that meets him. And I feel like it's typically like with my family or people that I associate myself with, where, you know, they kind of get this this like, what is going on? Like, is he mad? Is he like, he don't show up around my family as this big, you know, around my people like this big outgoing self. But around his people, or around people that he know, he's this outgoing, he's this lovable person, you know, so it's hard to see too. So now you get to a point where you feeling like you crazy as shit because can't nobody really see it. Yeah, your family kind of, you know, they kind of question, but, you know, they probably don't know. And if they probably do know, they're not going to say nothing about it, because the same shit that he's probably putting you through, a lot of times your family already put you through. So even if they see it, they're gonna act like they don't see it. Come on, somebody, I'm about to get up and run and start. I'm about to get up and get to running now. What? Sometimes your family can see it and say nothing about it, because now they know that if they say something about it, they know that they have to look back into themselves and be like, damn, that's how and they ain't doing that. They ain't doing that, okay? Or people who are not or never dealt with a narcissistic person, I hope and pray that my battery has enough to pull through with this. But people who've never dealt with a narcissistic person would say, oh, well, it's easy for you to just get up and leave. Like, what? When you see a person talking you crazy, you can just get up and go. If you don't have what happens is, a lot of times people who deal or stay in these relationships are people who are connected to trauma, connected to some type of childhood experiences that allowed them to think that these things are okay, right? So a lot of times people will say, okay, well, why don't you just leave? Or, you know what I'm saying? Why don't you just, you know, kick him out? But what happens is, and like I said earlier in the when the longer you stay into these relationships, the more harmful they become. And the reason why they become even more harmful is because a lot of times your connection to these people are trauma bond. It's trauma based. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, me, for example, my father not being there, his father not being there. You know what I'm saying? Even though our situation was so different, me being molested, his mom being shot in the head, his grandfather going blind. You know what I'm saying? Like, these list of things that, you know, even though it's not the same, but it's a sense of trauma that feels okay to connect itself. You get what I'm saying? And then once you get to that sense of connection, why are you leaving? Like, that's comfortable for me. You get what I'm saying? Or I don't even, like the lady said in, she made this illustration. I forgot what type of theory it's called. But it's this, it's like, imagine a fox wanting a grape, right? Wanted this big juicy grape in this tree. And trying to get it, don't catch it, right? What the fox says is, that grape wasn't even juicy anyway. Probably was sour. You know what I'm saying? And it justifies the reason why they're just going to leave the damn grape alone and don't even go back. Because, child, that grape wasn't juicy. I ain't missing out on nothing. But a person who is trauma bonded and dealing with and is in a narc relationship or dealt with even narcs before, they'll say, okay, this person is invalidating me. This person is making me feel less than. This person don't show up the way I show for them. This person is hurting my feelings. You get what I'm saying? This person makes me feel like. But it's my mom. It's my dad. But it's my sister. It's my boyfriend, I have to say, because we have kids together. You know? So we justify the reason we stay. One justifies the reason you leave. The other one justifies the reason you stay. Does that make sense? So now for me, and I think that's what I did, especially I learned with my mother, the reason why I justify a lot of stuff that she did, and her being abusive or being narcissistically abusive was, I always used to say, when stuff go down, she had me at 13. How would she know? She had me at 13, so she don't know how to be a mama. You know what I'm saying? I always justify did she say this to me because she don't know how to be a mama? She had me at 13. You get what I'm saying? I've always, same thing with my ex. I would say, his life was so hard, so he don't know how to do that. You know what I'm saying? I would always justify the reason why. But I always remember asking myself, how the fuck did I get here? Literally, I remember at times crying like, how did I get myself in this situation? Right? How did I get myself in this situation? And it's like this thing where it's like, yeah, I want to get out because how do I get myself here? But you're so wrapped up in the fucking how, and that's all that you're seeing. And a lot of times we don't even know how, right? So, or what you do was when you realize that, and for me, I think after I got to the point where I started to feel crazy, like it's me, I started doing research. Like I need to figure out why this is like this. And then I started researching, and then I realized a lot of things that people were saying, it was things that I was dealing with him. So then I realized, okay, he's a narcissistic motherfucker. Okay, this is what I'm dealing with, right? Didn't get into actual depths of the whole thing, but I just wanted to know why he was showing up the way he was showing up as. So for me, what I did, I validated it at first. Okay, well, yeah, he's showing like this, but honey, I'm a single mama. And God forbid if something was to happen, I've always took care, as they say, took care of myself. But I know that if I need it, he got the money to take care of it. I don't want my kid to be without. I don't want to be without. So I validated the reason why, or justified the reason why I stayed. And at that time, all right, y'all, so the phone went dead. Ugh, annoyed. So with that being said, you guys did not get the full version of this podcast. And when I tell y'all, it was so good. It was so juicy. But, first off, I want to apologize, y'all. I know the audio do not sound good. I do not have my microphone in, so I do apologize for that. But with that being said, if you guys want to hear the full version, like I said, it was so good. Wherever you pod at, if you got Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you pod at, just go ahead and type in a thing about a podcast with Nisi. And like I said, I got y'all. It was so good. Okay, so with that being said, y'all, once you go ahead and listen to this, y'all, next week episode or pod will be so good, so juicy, so fun. So make sure you tune in. Thank you guys for podding with me. Don't forget to tell a sister, cousin, brother, uncle, niece, nephew, great cousin to tune into the Thing About It podcast with your girl Nisi. See you next week.